I stood at the head of the table, looking at 37 faces illuminated by candlelight and the glow from the 12-foot Christmas tree I had spent an entire day decorating. My parents sat to my right, my brother and his family to my left. Aunts, uncles, cousins, and their children filled every seat at the table I had spent 2 weeks planning and preparing. The dining room looked like something from a magazine spread about perfect holiday gatherings. Everything was exactly as I had envisioned it when I started planning this Christmas back in September. It was 11:45 on Christmas night, and in 15 minutes, I was going to destroy every relationship I had with every person in this room. My phone sat in my pocket, heavy with the weight of screenshots that would shatter the illusion of family unity I had been maintaining for the past decade. Screenshots of a group chat called Holiday Survival that I had discovered 3 weeks ago, a chat that included every adult member of my family except me. A chat where they had spent months complaining about having to attend my Christmas dinner, mocking my efforts to create the perfect celebration, and planning excuses to leave early. But to understand why I was standing at that table, preparing to detonate my entire family structure on Christmas night, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to when I thought creating the perfect Christmas was the same thing as creating a perfect family. My name is Andrew Mitchell. I am 36 years old, and I work as an event coordinator in Chicago, Illinois. For the past 10 years, since I was 26 years old and had finally saved enough money to afford it, I have hosted an annual Christmas dinner for my entire extended family. Not just dinner, really. A full-day Christmas celebration that starts with brunch at 10 in the morning and goes until midnight, complete with coordinated activities, personalized gifts for everyone, elaborate decorations, and a formal sit-down dinner that would put most restaurants to shame. I do this because when I was growing up, Christmas was always chaotic and disappointing. My parents would argue about money. My brother would complain about having to spend time with family instead of friends. Extended family members would show up late or leave early or forget to bring the dishes they promised to bring. Nothing was ever organized, nothing was ever special, and by the time I was a teenager, I had come to dread the holidays as much as everyone else seemed to. So when I started making decent money in my mid-20s, I decided I was going to change that. I was going to create the Christmas that our family deserved. The kind of warm, loving, perfectly organized celebration that would bring everyone together and create memories that we would all treasure for the rest of our lives. What I did not understand until 3 weeks ago was that I was the only person who wanted that. That everyone else saw my perfect Christmas not as a gift but as an obligation. Not as an act of love but as an inconvenience they had to endure once a year. The discovery happened on December 1st, which felt appropriate in its cruel irony. I was having lunch with my brother Ryan at a restaurant near my office. We had been talking about logistics for Christmas dinner, confirming that he and his wife Laura and their 2 kids would be coming, when his phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a notification from a group chat called Holiday Survival. I only saw it for a second before he grabbed the phone and turned it face down, but that was enough to catch my attention. Holiday Survival? I asked with a laugh. What is that? Ryan's face did something strange. A flicker of guilt, maybe, or fear, before he forced a casual smile. Oh, just a stupid chat with some friends. Planning a New Year's thing. Nothing interesting. But I had seen the preview text on his notification. It said, Andrew is already asking about dietary restrictions LOL. And it was sent by someone whose contact name ended in mom. Our mom. That chat has mom in it, I said slowly. For planning with your friends? Ryan's face went red. You must have misread. It is just friends from college. Ryan, I saw mom's name. He stood up abruptly. I need to use the bathroom. Order me another beer if the server comes by. He walked away with his phone, leaving me sitting there with a growing sense that something was very wrong. Ryan had never been a good liar. Even as kids, when he tried to lie to our parents, his face would give him away every time. And his face had just told me that there was a group chat that included our mother that was called Holiday Survival, and that apparently contained messages about me. When he came back, I did not press the issue. I made small talk about work and the weather and let him think I had dropped it. But my mind was racing, trying to figure out what that group chat could be and why I was apparently the subject of mockery in it. For the next week, I could not stop thinking about it. Holiday Survival. The name itself felt like a weapon aimed at me, as if surviving Christmas with me was something that required a support group. As if the celebration I poured my heart and my money and my time into creating was something they needed to survive rather than enjoy. I told myself I was being paranoid, that it was probably just family members sharing funny stories or coordinating gifts or doing any of the normal things families do in group chats. But I could not shake the feeling that there was something more to it, something I was not supposed to see. On December 8th, I got my answer. I was visiting my parents' house to drop off some early Christmas gifts and use their printer because mine had broken. My mother was in the kitchen making cookies, and my father was out running errands. I went upstairs to the office where they kept their printer, and that is when I saw it. My mother's iPad was sitting on the desk, unlocked, the screen showing a group chat called Holiday Survival. I knew I should not look. I knew it was an invasion of privacy, but I could not stop myself from picking up that iPad and reading what my family had been saying about me. The chat had 47 members. My parents, my brother and his wife, my aunts and uncles, my adult cousins, even my grandmother. Basically, every adult member of my family except me. And they had been using this chat for years to coordinate their attendance at my Christmas celebrations and to complain about how burdensome those celebrations were. I scrolled through months of messages, feeling my heart break a little more with each one. My brother Ryan, in October, anyone want to take bets on what absurd theme Andrew picks for Christmas this year? Last year was Dickensian Christmas, and he made us all wear period-appropriate clothing like we were at a Renaissance fair. My cousin Jennifer, I still cannot believe he spent $3,000 on costumes for us, that he bought himself, that none of us wanted. The man needs therapy. My Aunt Carol, has anyone figured out how to leave early this year without Andrew noticing? Last year, he kept texting me asking where I went and if everything was okay. It was 10:30 at night. I had been there for 12 hours. Of course, I wanted to go home. My mother, I know he means well, but I honestly dread Christmas now. It used to be a relaxing family day. Now it is like attending a wedding every year where Andrew is both the bride and the wedding planner and will have a breakdown if anything goes wrong. My father, the worst part is how much money he wastes on this stuff. He could be saving for a house or retirement, but instead he is spending thousands of dollars trying to create some fantasy version of family that does not exist. The messages went on and on. Years of them. Complaints about my decorations being too elaborate. Jokes about my personalized gifts being awkward and unnecessary. Mockery of the activities I planned. Detailed strategies for how to appear enthusiastic while actually being miserable. Countdown timers they would share as Christmas approached, treating the date like an execution they had to prepare for. There were messages from the day after Christmas where they would decompress and share their survival stories from my celebration, laughing about moments I thought had been special, making fun of speeches I had given or traditions I had tried to start, treating the entire event like it was something being done to them rather than for them. But the messages from this year, from November and early December, were the worst. My cousin Mark, 3 weeks ago, okay, I have a foolproof exit strategy this year. I am going to have my wife text me at 8 p.m. with a fake emergency. Something with the kids. Then we can leave and Andrew cannot guilt trip us about it. My Aunt Linda, that is genius. Can she text me too? We can say it is a group child crisis and we all have to leave together. My brother Ryan, we should coordinate this. If everyone leaves around the same time, Andrew will be too overwhelmed to focus on any one person. He will just melt down and we can escape. My mother, Ryan, that is your brother. That is mean. My brother Ryan, Mom, you literally started this chat to help us cope with his exhausting Christmas celebrations. Do not suddenly act like you are taking the high road. My mother, I know. I just feel guilty sometimes. He works so hard on it. My father, he works hard on his own ego trip. There is a difference. If he cared about what we actually wanted, he would ask us instead of forcing his vision of perfect Christmas down our throats every year. My grandmother, I am 82 years old. I should not have to sit through 12 hours of coordinated activities and formal dinners at my age. I would rather spend Christmas in my pajamas watching Hallmark movies. But I cannot say that because Andrew would be devastated. My cousin Jennifer, has anyone considered just telling him the truth? That we appreciate the gesture but would prefer something simpler. My uncle Robert, have you met Andrew? The man plans Christmas like a military operation. If we told him we wanted something different, he would take it as a personal attack and spend the rest of the year trying to figure out what went wrong. My Aunt Carol, or worse, he would try even harder next year to make it perfect. No, we are stuck with this. We just need to keep doing what we are doing. Show up, smile, survive, escape. I sat in that office, staring at my mother's iPad, reading message after message from people I loved, people I had spent 10 years trying to make happy, and I felt something break inside me. Not my heart, exactly. Something deeper than that. Some fundamental belief I had held about my place in my family and my value to the people who were supposed to love me. I had spent 10 years, tens of thousands of dollars, countless hours of planning and preparation, trying to give my family the Christmas they deserved. And they had spent those same 10 years secretly mocking me, resenting me, and planning how to endure my efforts with minimal discomfort. I took screenshots of everything. Hundreds of messages spanning 3 years, which was as far back as the chat history went. I sent them all to myself, then carefully closed the iPad and left it exactly as I had found it. I walked downstairs where my mother was still making cookies, humming along to Christmas music playing from her phone. She smiled when she saw me. All done with the printer, honey? Yeah, all done. Are you staying for cookies? The first batch is almost ready. I looked at her, at this woman who had spent months in that group chat complaining about how my Christmas celebrations were a burden, who had participated in planning a mass exodus from this year's dinner, who had defended my father when he called my efforts an ego trip. And she was smiling at me like nothing was wrong, like she had not spent years lying to my face about how she felt. I cannot stay, I said. I have a lot of planning to do for Christmas. She laughed. Of course you do. You and your Christmas planning. We are all very excited, you know. Everyone is looking forward to it. Everyone is looking forward to it. One of the many lies I would be hearing over the next few weeks. One of countless lies I had been hearing for years. I drove home in a daze, not really seeing the road, my mind replaying every Christmas for the past decade, every compliment I had received on my decorations, every thank you for the thoughtful gifts, every expression of appreciation for the food and the activities and the effort I had put into making the day special. All of it had been lies, or if not lies, then performances. My family showing up and playing their roles in my Christmas production because they felt obligated, not because they wanted to be there. Enduring my perfect Christmas because they loved me, but hating every minute of it. When I got home, I sat in my apartment and looked at the Christmas decorations I had already put up, the tree I had spent 3 hours arranging to perfection, the garlands and lights and carefully placed ornaments. The stockings I had hung even though I lived alone, just to maintain the Christmas spirit I thought I was creating for my family. And I realized I had been living in a fantasy. I had been so focused on creating the perfect Christmas that I never stopped to consider whether the people I was creating it for actually wanted it. I had assumed that if I just tried hard enough, planned well enough, spent enough money and time and energy, I could manifest the loving, cohesive family I had always wanted. But you cannot force people to be a family. You cannot spend your way into belonging. And you definitely cannot create genuine love and connection through elaborate event planning and coordinated activities. I had a choice to make. I could cancel Christmas. I could send out a message saying that due to personal reasons, I would not be hosting this year. I could spare myself the humiliation of putting on another elaborate production for an audience that resented having to attend. Or I could do something else. Something that would force my family to confront what they had been doing. Something that would make them face the consequences of their cruelty disguised as tolerance. I decided to host the best Christmas I had ever created. The most elaborate, the most expensive, the most perfectly executed celebration of the decade I had been doing this. I would give them everything they had been pretending to want. Every coordinated activity, every thoughtful gift, every decorative detail that I could manage. And then, at the end of the night, when they were all preparing to execute their coordinated exit strategy, I would show them what I had found. I would reveal that I knew about holiday survival, that I had seen every complaint, every mockery, every plan to escape, that I had spent weeks preparing this perfect Christmas knowing that the people I was doing it for secretly hated every minute of it. I spent the next 3 weeks planning, not just the Christmas celebration itself, but the revelation that would come at the end. I watched the holiday survival chat through my mother's iPad, which I had figured out how to access remotely through their shared family iCloud account. I watched them coordinate their exit strategies, watched them make jokes about what theme I might choose this year, watched them share tips for how to look engaged during my planned activities while actually being as mentally checked out as possible. My brother Ryan suggested they turn it into a drinking game. Take a shot every time Andrew mentions how much work something took to prepare. Take 2 shots when he gives a speech about the meaning of Christmas. My Uncle Robert thought that was hilarious and said he would be drunk before dinner even started. My mother suggested they be kinder this year. Maybe actually try to enjoy some of it since I clearly put so much work in. My father responded that she was welcome to enjoy it, but he was planning to sneak outside for frequent smoke breaks even though he had supposedly quit smoking 2 years ago. I watched all of this while simultaneously preparing the most elaborate Christmas they had ever experienced. I booked a professional photographer to document the day. I hired a string quartet to play during dinner. I had custom ornaments made for everyone with their names and a personal message. I spent $6,000 on a catering service to prepare a 12-course meal that would put Michelin-starred restaurants to shame. Every night, I would come home exhausted from my actual job and spend 4 more hours working on Christmas preparations, creating personalized activity booklets for each family member, building a gingerbread replica of my childhood home, designing table settings that matched the Victorian Christmas theme I had chosen specifically because my cousin Jennifer had joked in the chat that I would probably pick something absurd like Victorian Christmas. I was not doing this because I thought they would enjoy it. I was doing it because I wanted the contrast to be as stark as possible. I wanted them to see exactly what they had been mocking. I wanted them to understand the scope of what I had been pouring into these celebrations while they were secretly counting down the minutes until they could leave. During this time, I had several interactions with family members where they continued the lies I now knew were lies. My mother called to ask if she could bring anything, her voice full of false enthusiasm. My brother texted to say how excited his kids were. When I knew from the chat that he had been dreading having to attend, My Aunt Carol told me she had been bragging to her friends about how amazing my Christmas celebrations always were. When I had read her messages about how exhausting and overwhelming she found them, each lie cut deeper than the last. But I smiled and thanked them and told them how much I was looking forward to seeing them. I played my role in this performance just as they had been playing theirs for years. The Saturday before Christmas, my brother called me. "Hey, I know you are probably busy with final preparations, but I wanted to give you a heads up about something." "What is up?" "Laura has not been feeling great lately. Nothing serious, but she might need to leave early if she starts feeling worse. I just wanted to let you know so you would not be surprised." I almost laughed. I had seen the messages planning this exact excuse. Laura was perfectly fine. This was part of their coordinated exit strategy. But I played along. "Oh no, I hope she feels better. Of course, if you guys need to leave early, I completely understand. Family health comes first." "Thanks, man. I knew you would understand. You are always so accommodating about that stuff." After I hung up, I pulled up the holiday survival chat and watched the messages come in. "Ryan just called Andrew with the Laura excuse. He bought it. We are clear to leave by 8:30 without guilt." My mother, "Did you really need to blame Laura? What if she gets upset about being used as an excuse?" Ryan, "She is the one who suggested it. She is fine with it. We have done this enough times that everyone knows how it works." Christmas Day arrived, and I woke up at 5 in the morning to begin final preparations. The catering staff would arrive at 8, the photographer at 9, the string quartet at noon. My family would start arriving at 10 for the brunch portion of the celebration. I had not slept well. I kept running through what I would say at the end of the night, how I would reveal what I knew. I had written several versions of a speech, but they all felt either too angry or not angry enough. How do you articulate betrayal like this? How do you explain to people who are supposed to love you that their secret contempt hurts more than their absence ever could? By 9:45, everything was ready. My apartment had been transformed into a Victorian Christmas wonderland. The catering staff had prepared an elaborate brunch spread. The photographer was setting up equipment. The gifts were arranged under the tree, each one wrapped in custom paper with coordinated ribbons. Classical Christmas music played softly through the sound system. It looked perfect. It looked like something from a magazine. It looked exactly like what I had been trying to create for 10 years. My family started arriving at 10. My parents were first, dressed in the Victorian-inspired clothing I had requested in the invitations. My mother gasped when she saw the decorations. "Andrew, this is incredible. You have outdone yourself this year." My father nodded approvingly. "Very impressive, son. Must have cost a fortune." I thought about his messages in the chat about how I was wasting money on ego trips. I smiled and thanked him. My brother and his family arrived next. His kids, my nephew Tyler, who was 8, and my niece Sophie, who was 6, actually did seem excited about the decorations and the presents under the tree. Ryan and Laura looked around with expressions I now recognized as performative appreciation masking dread. "This is amazing, Andrew," Laura said. "You must have worked so hard on all of this." "One drink." That was what the drinking game said. One shot every time I mentioned how much work something took. I did not mention it. I just thanked her and showed them where to put their coats. Over the next hour, the rest of the family arrived. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmother, second cousins, even some family friends who had become regular attendees over the years. 37 people total, all dressed according to the Victorian theme, all oohing and eyeing over the decorations and the food spread and the attention to detail. All lying. The photographer captured everyone's arrival. Candid shots of people examining ornaments and serving themselves brunch and greeting each other with hugs and smiles. If you looked at those photos, You would think this was the happiest family gathering in the world. You would never guess that most of the people in those photos were silently calculating how many hours they had to endure before they could execute their escape plans. We ate brunch. I gave a short speech welcoming everyone and thanking them for coming. My Uncle Robert had to have taken 2 shots for that one. We played the games I had prepared. Victorian parlor games that I had researched extensively to ensure historical accuracy. The kids enjoyed them. The adults participated with varying levels of enthusiasm, checking their watches when they thought I was not looking. At 2 in the afternoon, the string quartet began playing. We moved into the formal living room for the concert portion of the day. I watched my family settle into chairs and sofas, watched them plaster polite smiles on their faces, watched them prepare to sit through an hour of classical music that they had not asked for. My grandmother fell asleep 15 minutes into the concert. My father took that opportunity to slip outside for one of his secret smoke breaks. My cousin Mark checked his phone repeatedly, probably monitoring the time until his wife's fake emergency text. The concert ended at 3. We had a brief intermission before dinner would be served at 4. I announced that there would be a Victorian tea service in the dining room for anyone who wanted refreshments, and that the gift exchange would happen after dinner. I watched people drift toward the tea service, heard them making small talk about the music and the decorations. I heard my mother tell my Aunt Carol that this was probably the nicest Christmas we had ever had. I wanted to pull out my phone right then and show her what she had written in Holiday Survival about dreading my celebrations. Dinner was served at 4. The catering staff had outdone themselves. 12 courses, each one presented with explanation of its historical significance in Victorian Christmas celebrations. Roast goose, plum pudding, mulled wine, mince pies. Everything authentic, everything prepared to perfection. The meal took 2.5 hours. I watched my family eat and drink and make conversation. I watched them checking their phones under the table. I watched the adults exchanging glances, the kind of looks that said, "How much longer until we can leave?" At 6:30, we moved back to the living room for the gift exchange. I had spent weeks selecting and wrapping gifts for everyone. Personalized presents that showed I had been paying attention to their interests and hobbies. Books for my father who loved history. Art supplies for my niece who had shown talent in drawing. A vintage brooch for my grandmother that matched one her mother had owned. Each person opened their gift and thanked me. Some of the thanks were genuine, I think. The kids were definitely happy with their presents. But most of the adults went through the motions, saying the right words while their eyes were already planning their exits. By 8 p.m., the mass exodus was scheduled to begin. I watched the adults shifting in their seats, getting ready. My cousin Mark's wife had her phone in her hand, ready to send the fake emergency text. At 8:15, it happened. Mark's wife's phone buzzed loudly. She looked at it with exaggerated alarm. "Oh no, that is my sister. There is a problem with her kids. I am sorry, we have to go right now." Mark stood up immediately. "I am so sorry, Andrew. Emergency with the family. You understand." I nodded sympathetically. "Of course. Family comes first. I hope everything is okay." They gathered their things and left, their kids confused about why they had to leave so suddenly. 5 minutes later, my Aunt Linda's phone buzzed. That was Mark's wife texting me. "They need help with the situation. We should go too." More apologies. More gathering of belongings. More hasty exits. Within 20 minutes, 10 people had left. The remaining family members looked around nervously, wondering if they should stick to their own individual exit plans or join the mass departure. My brother Ryan stood up. "Laura is not feeling great. We talked about this earlier. I think we should head out too." More apologies. More false concern for Laura's non-existent illness. His kids did not want to leave. They had been having fun with the Victorian parlor games and wanted to stay longer. But Ryan insisted and they left. By 9 p.m., 23 people had left. Only 14 remained. My parents, my grandmother, a few aunts and uncles who apparently had not coordinated their exits as well as the others. My mother looked concerned. I do not know what is going on. Why is everyone leaving so early? I thought about showing her the holiday survival chat right then. But I had planned for this to happen at midnight, and I was going to stick to my plan. Maybe people are just tired, I said. It has been a long day. The remaining family members settled in awkwardly. The energy of the celebration was gone. Everyone could feel it, but I pretended everything was fine. I suggested we watch a Christmas movie. I served dessert and coffee. I kept the facade going for 3 more hours. My parents tried to leave at 10:30. They made excuses about my father needing to take his medication and my grandmother being tired. I asked them to stay just a little longer, just until midnight. I said I had one final surprise planned and I really wanted them to be there for it. My mother looked like she wanted to refuse, but guilt won out. Okay, honey, we can stay until midnight. By 11:30, the 14 people who remained were barely maintaining the pretense of enjoying themselves. They were exhausted from a long day of forced cheerfulness. They wanted to go home. They were wondering what surprise I could possibly have planned that required them to stay until midnight. At 11:45, I suggested we all move back to the dining room for one final toast to close out the celebration. They followed me reluctantly, settling into their seats with the weariness of people who had been enduring rather than enjoying. I stood at the head of the table, looking at 37 faces illuminated by candlelight and the glow from the Christmas tree. And that is where I started this story. It was 11:45, and in 15 minutes I was going to show them what I knew. I want to thank everyone who stayed, I began. I know it has been a long day. I know I ask a lot of you every year with these Christmas celebrations. But I want you to know how much it means to me that you come, that you participate, that you help me create these memories. My mother smiled at me with what looked like genuine affection. My father nodded. My remaining aunts and uncles made sounds of agreement. I have been hosting Christmas for 10 years now, I continued, and every year I try to make it better than the year before, more elaborate, more memorable, more perfect. My Uncle Robert looked at his watch, probably wondering how much longer this speech would last. I do this because I love you all. Because family is the most important thing in the world to me. Because I believe that creating traditions and memories together is what makes us a family. More nods, more polite smiles, more people waiting for me to finish so they could leave. But I learned something recently, something that has made me reconsider everything I thought I knew about our family and about what these celebrations mean. The mood in the room shifted slightly. People sat up a little straighter, sensing that this was not going where they expected. I pulled out my phone. 3 weeks ago, I accidentally discovered a group chat called Holiday Survival. It had 47 members, every adult in our family except me. And I spent the past 3 weeks reading everything you have all been saying about these Christmas celebrations I have been pouring my heart into for the past decade. My mother's face went white. My father's expression froze. Around the table, I saw looks of horror and guilt and panic as people realized what I was about to do. So I thought, for my final surprise tonight, I would share some of my favorite messages from Holiday Survival, just so everyone knows what everyone else has really been thinking all these years. Andrew, wait. My mother started, but I held up my hand. Mom, you wrote last month that you honestly dread Christmas now, that it used to be a relaxing family day. But now it is like attending a wedding where I am both the bride and the wedding planner who will have a breakdown if anything goes wrong. Did you mean that? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Dad, you wrote that I am wasting money on an ego trip instead of saving for a house. You said that if I actually cared about what you wanted, I would ask instead of forcing my vision down your throats. Did you mean that? My father looked at the table. Ryan, you created a drinking game out of my Christmas speeches. You coordinated tonight's mass exodus where 23 people invented fake emergencies to escape early. Laura is not sick, is she? This was all planned. My brother could not look at me. I went around the table. I read messages from everyone who was still there, held up my phone to show them their own words, watched them squirm and try to explain and eventually fall silent because there was no explanation that would make this okay. So here is what I want to know, I said when I had finished. If all of you hate my Christmas celebrations so much, why did you keep coming? Why did you lie to my face year after year? Why not just tell me you wanted something different? My Aunt Carol found her voice first. Andrew, we did not hate it. It was a lot sometimes. You put so much pressure on everything being perfect. So you created a secret group chat to mock me instead of having an honest conversation? We did not want to hurt your feelings, my Uncle Robert said. But you were fine with hurting my feelings in private? You were fine with making jokes about me and counting down the minutes until you could escape. My grandmother spoke up, her voice quiet but clear. Andrew, honey, you need to understand something. These Christmas celebrations, they are about what you want, not what we want. You never asked us what kind of Christmas we would enjoy. You just decided what would be perfect and expected us all to play along. I was trying to give you the Christmas our family never had growing up. I was trying to create something special. But it was special for you, not for us, my mother said, tears in her eyes now. You were creating your fantasy of what family should be like instead of accepting what we actually are. And what are we actually like? I asked. A group of people who lie to each other? Who fake enthusiasm to avoid confrontation? Who secretly mock someone they claim to love? We do love you, Andrew, my father said. But yes, we have been lying to you, because we did not know how to tell you the truth without destroying you. You put so much of yourself into these celebrations that telling you we did not enjoy them felt cruel. So instead you created an entire group chat dedicated to complaining about me? That is somehow less cruel. Nobody had a good answer for that. We sat in silence for a long time. The Christmas music was still playing softly. The candles were still burning. Everything still looked perfect. But the illusion was completely shattered. Finally, my mother spoke again. Andrew, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago, but I did not know how. I looked at her, waiting. When you started hosting these Christmas celebrations, I was so proud of you, so happy that you were successful enough to do something generous for your family. But after the first year, your father and I talked about it, and we agreed it was too much, too elaborate, too expensive, too much pressure on everyone. Why did you not say something then? Because you were so happy. You were so proud of what you had created. And we did not want to take that away from you. So we thought if we just went along with it for a few years, eventually you would naturally tone it down. But you did not. You kept making it bigger and more elaborate, and we kept not saying anything, and it just snowballed into this thing where we all felt trapped. Trapped by my generosity? Trapped by your expectations, my father said. Every year we had to dress up in whatever costumes you picked. We had to participate in whatever activities you planned. We had to sit through elaborate meals and concerts and gift exchanges that took hours. All of it was lovely, Andrew. It was beautiful and thoughtful, and obviously you worked very hard. But it was not what we wanted. It was what you wanted us to want. The truth of his words hit me harder than I expected. Because he was right. I had never once asked my family what kind of Christmas they would enjoy. I had just assumed that the perfect Christmas I envisioned was the perfect Christmas they would want too. But you could have told me, I said, my voice breaking now. You could have been honest instead of creating holiday survival and spending years mocking me behind my back. You are right, my mother said. We should have. And I am sorry. I am so sorry, Andrew. We thought we were being kind by pretending to enjoy it. We did not understand that we were being cruel. The group chat was wrong, my Aunt Carol added. We got carried away. It started as just a way to coordinate logistics and share schedules, and it turned into something mean. We should have been honest with you instead. Is that supposed to make me feel better? You all agreeing now that you should have been honest after I caught you? If I had not found that chat, would you have ever told me the truth? Nobody answered, which was an answer in itself. I need you all to leave, I said quietly. I need you to leave my home right now. Andrew, let's talk about this. My brother started. There is nothing to talk about. You have made it clear how you feel. You have made it clear that the past 10 years of my life, all the work and money and love I poured into these celebrations, was something you all secretly resented. So I am done. I am done trying to create something you do not want. I am done being the only person who cares about this family staying connected. That is not fair, my father said. We do care about staying connected. We just wanted to connect in a different way than your elaborate Christmas productions. Then you should have said that 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or any point in the past decade when you had the chance to be honest with me. But you did not. You chose to lie to my face and mock me behind my back. So now I am choosing to remove myself from a family that apparently sees me as a burden. They tried to argue. They tried to apologize. They tried to explain. But I was done listening. I told them to leave, and eventually, reluctantly, they gathered their coats and their gifts and walked out into the cold December night. My mother was the last to leave. She stood in the doorway, looking at me with such sadness that I almost relented. Andrew, please, don't let this destroy our family. I did not destroy it, Mom. You all did when you chose cruelty over honesty. I was just the one who forced you to face it. She left. The door closed, and I was alone in my perfect Christmas wonderland that nobody had wanted. I spent the rest of that night and all of the next day cleaning up, taking down decorations, packing away dishes, dismantling the perfection I had created. With every ornament I removed, every candle I extinguished, every trace of Christmas I erased from my apartment, I was also dismantling the fantasy I had been living in. The fantasy that I could create a perfect family through perfect celebrations. The fantasy that if I just tried hard enough, spent enough money, planned meticulously enough, I could force people to love me the way I wanted to be loved. The fantasy that I was the glue holding my family together, when in reality, I was the burden they were all tolerating out of obligation. 3 days after Christmas, my brother called. I did not answer. He left a voicemail apologizing and asking me to call him back so we could talk. My mother texted saying she loved me and wanted to work through this. My Aunt Carol sent a long email explaining that the group chat had gotten out of hand and did not represent how she actually felt about me or my Christmas celebrations. I did not respond to any of them. I needed time to process what had happened. Time to figure out who I was without the identity I had built as the family Christmas coordinator. A week after Christmas, on New Year's Eve, I was alone in my apartment when I made a decision. I was done with my family. Not forever necessarily, but done for now. Done with the lies and the performative affection and the obligation disguised as love. If they wanted a relationship with me, they would need to do the work of repairing what they had broken. They would need to acknowledge the hurt they had caused. They would need to demonstrate that they actually valued me for who I was, not just tolerated me because I was family. But I also made a decision about myself. I was done trying to create perfection. Done trying to force relationships and celebrations into some idealized vision that existed only in my head. Done measuring my worth by my ability to plan elaborate events that nobody asked for. I had spent 10 years and probably close to $100,000 trying to buy belonging. Trying to create through sheer force of will the kind of family closeness that cannot be manufactured. And all I had gotten in return was a secret group chat called Holiday Survival, where people counted down the minutes until they could escape from my presence. That was not love. That was not family. That was me refusing to see reality because accepting the truth was too painful. So I accepted it. I accepted that my family did not want what I was offering. I accepted that my efforts to create connection had actually created resentment. I accepted that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let relationships exist as they are instead of trying to force them into what you wish they were. On New Year's Day, I sent a group email to my entire family. Not to Holiday Survival, which I would never have access to, but to all of them individually. I have spent the past week thinking about what happened on Christmas night. About what it means that you all spent years pretending to enjoy something you actually resented. About what it says about our family that dishonesty felt safer than honesty. I want you to know that I forgive you, not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger is exhausting, and I am tired. I am tired of trying so hard to create something none of us can agree on. I am tired of putting in all the effort while you all put in all the tolerance. I am tired of being the only one who seems to think family connection requires work and intention, so I am stepping back. I will not be hosting Christmas next year, or probably any year after that. I will not be organizing family gatherings or coordinating celebrations or trying to create memories that you will all later mock in your private group chats. If you want to have a relationship with me, I am open to that. But it needs to be an honest relationship built on what we actually are, not what I wish we could be. It needs to be a relationship where people say what they mean instead of performing affection while secretly resenting the burden. I hope you all had a good Christmas. I genuinely do. But it will be the last Christmas I try to create for you. From now on, you can create your own. I sent the email and turned off my phone. I did not want to see the responses immediately. I needed space. I needed silence. I needed to figure out who Andrew Mitchell was when he was not defined by his role as the family Christmas coordinator. Over the next few months, some family members reached out. My grandmother came to visit, and we had the most honest conversation we had ever had. She told me she had always loved me, but that my Christmas celebrations had genuinely been exhausting for her at her age. She apologized for participating in Holiday Survival, but explained that it had felt like the only way to be honest about her limitations without hurting my feelings. I am 82 years old, Andrew. Standing for hours, sitting through long dinners, participating in activities, it is hard on my body. But you were so excited and worked so hard that I did not know how to tell you I would have preferred to spend Christmas in my recliner watching old movies. I wish you had told me, Grandma. I could have made accommodations. I could have set up a comfortable space for you. I could have planned around your needs. But that is the problem, honey. You were so focused on executing your vision that there was not room for anyone else's needs or preferences. You were planning this perfect Christmas, and we were all supporting characters in your production instead of equal participants in a family gathering. Her words hurt because they were true. I had been so focused on creating my perfect Christmas that I never stopped to ask what anyone else wanted. I had assumed my vision was their vision, and when they did not express enthusiasm equal to mine, I had just tried harder instead of listening to what they were not saying. My brother reached out after a couple of months. We met for coffee, and he apologized for his role in Holiday Survival. He explained that the drinking game and the coordinated exits had been his idea, and that he felt terrible about how it had all unfolded. I was being a jerk, Andrew. Your Christmas celebrations were a lot, but you were trying to do something nice, and I turned it into this thing where everyone was mocking you. That was wrong. Why did you do it? If it was too much, why not just tell me? Because you were my little brother, and I did not want to hurt you, which I know sounds stupid now, but at the time, it felt kinder to just go along with it and complain about it privately than to tell you that your Christmas plans were overwhelming and over the top. But you understand that was actually crueler, right? Letting me believe you enjoyed it while secretly resenting me? I do now. I am sorry. I forgave him. Not immediately, but gradually. Because he was genuine in his apology. And because I understood that he had been trying to navigate an impossible situation that I had created by never asking what anyone actually wanted. My parents took longer. They sent emails and texts and left voicemails, but they did not take responsibility for their role in the situation. They kept framing it as a misunderstanding, as everyone meaning well but communicating poorly, instead of acknowledging that they had been dishonest for years and that dishonesty had consequences. It was not until April that my mother came to my apartment and actually apologized. Really apologized, without qualifications or excuses. I was wrong, Andrew. I was wrong to lie to you for years about how I felt. I was wrong to participate in that group chat. I was wrong to prioritize your feelings in the moment over honesty that would have actually helped you. I was wrong to let this go on for so long that you spent thousands of dollars and countless hours on celebrations that we did not want. Why did you let it go on? Why not tell me after the first year or the second year? She sat on my couch, looking older than I remembered her being. Because you were so happy, Andrew. You were so proud of what you were creating. And after the childhood you had, after the chaotic and disappointing Christmases we gave you as a kid, I wanted to let you have this. I wanted to let you feel like you were succeeding at something your father and I had failed at. But I was not succeeding. I was forcing you to participate in something you did not enjoy. I know, and I should have told you that. I should have said, Andrew, we appreciate the gesture, but we would prefer something simpler, something less elaborate. Something where we can all just be together without it feeling like a production. But I did not. And I am sorry. I wish I had asked, I said quietly. I wish I had asked what you wanted instead of assuming I knew. I wish I had built Christmas with you instead of for you. You have always been someone who puts a lot of effort into things, who wants everything to be perfect. That is not a bad quality, Andrew. But sometimes perfection is the enemy of connection. Sometimes the most meaningful gatherings are the messy, imperfect ones where people are just being themselves. After my mother left, I thought about what she had said, about perfection being the enemy of connection, about building things with people instead of for them. I had spent 10 years trying to create perfect Christmases, and in doing so, I had created performances instead of celebrations. I had created obligations instead of opportunities. I had created resentment instead of gratitude. Not entirely. Some people had enjoyed parts of it. My niece and nephew genuinely looked forward to my Christmas celebrations. Some of the activities I planned had created real moments of joy and connection. Some of the gifts I gave had been meaningful. It was not all bad, but it was not what I thought it was. It was not the glue holding my family together. It was not the thing that made us a family. It was just an elaborate event that some people enjoyed, some people tolerated, and some people actively resented but did not feel like they could escape. The next Christmas season approached, and I found myself not making any plans, not decorating my apartment, not buying gifts, not coordinating anything with my family. It felt strange at first, like I was missing some essential part of who I was. But it also felt liberating. I spent Christmas Day that year alone. I woke up late, made myself a simple breakfast, and spent the day reading and watching movies and just being quiet. It was the first Christmas in a decade where I was not stressed about logistics or worried about everyone else's experience or performing the role of the perfect host. It was peaceful. It was not perfect, but it was peaceful. My grandmother called that evening to check on me. "How are you doing, honey?" "I am doing okay, Grandma. Just having a quiet day." "That sounds nice. Your parents hosted Christmas this year." "Very simple. Just immediate family. Pizza and a movie. Very relaxed." "That sounds nice too." It was. But we missed you. Even if you were not hosting, we would have liked to have you there. "Maybe next year," I said, though I was not sure I meant it. After we hung up, I thought about my family eating pizza and watching a movie. The kind of simple, casual Christmas that I had been trying so hard to avoid with all my elaborate planning. The kind of Christmas they had apparently wanted all along. I was not angry anymore. I was not hurt in the acute way I had been when I first discovered holiday survival. I was just sad. Sad that we had all wasted so much time and energy on a version of Christmas that none of us actually wanted. Sad that dishonesty had prevented us from finding something that would have worked for everyone. But I was also grateful. Grateful that I had learned this lesson at 36 instead of 66. Grateful that I could start building a different relationship with my family. One based on honesty and acceptance instead of obligation and performance. Grateful that I no longer had to carry the burden of creating perfect celebrations that nobody asked for. That has been 3 years ago now. I am 39 now, and my relationship with my family is different but better. We see each other occasionally, sometimes for holidays, sometimes not. When we do gather, it is casual and simple. Pizza and a movie. Barbecues in the backyard. Nothing elaborate. Nothing requiring months of planning or thousands of dollars. And it is good. It is not perfect, but it is good. My brother and I have rebuilt our relationship. We get together for lunch every few months, and we talk honestly about things instead of performing affection we do not feel. He has apologized multiple times for holiday survival, and I have accepted those apologies. My relationship with my parents is more complicated. We are cordial, but there is a distance that was not there before. Or maybe the distance was always there and I was just refusing to see it. Either way, we have all accepted that our relationship is what it is, not what I wish it could be. I still love Christmas, but differently now. I decorate my apartment, but simply. I buy gifts for people, but thoughtfully instead of elaborately. I create celebrations, but with people instead of for people. Last year, I spent Christmas with a group of friends who also did not have family nearby. We cooked dinner together, played board games, and watched bad Christmas movies while making fun of them. It was chaotic and imperfect, and nobody was performing for anyone. And it was the best Christmas I have had in years. Because it was real. It was people actually enjoying each other's company instead of tolerating each other out of obligation. It was connection built on what we actually were instead of what I was trying to force us to be. I learned something important from those 10 years of perfect Christmases and the spectacular implosion that ended them. I learned that you cannot buy belonging. You cannot plan your way into genuine connection. You cannot force people to be the family you want them to be. All you can do is be honest about what you want, about what you need, about what you are actually capable of giving and receiving. And then you build relationships with people who want to meet you in that honest space, instead of wasting energy trying to force relationships with people who are just tolerating your presence. Holiday survival destroyed the fantasy I had been living in, but it also freed me from the exhausting work of maintaining that fantasy. It forced me to see my family clearly, and to see myself clearly, and to accept that sometimes love means stepping back instead of pushing forward. I have not hosted Christmas in 3 years. I probably never will again. But I am okay with that. More than okay. Because I am not trying to be the family Christmas coordinator anymore. I am just trying to be Andrew. And it turns out that is enough. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Before you go, I have left 2 more stories here on your screen. Both from men who discovered that family is not always who you are born to, it is who stands by you when the truth comes out. Click on whichever one calls to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it is like to be the outsider looking in, that notification bell is your invitation. Until tomorrow, remember your story matters even if they tried to erase it.